We'll see what happens. I brought a list of 18 words and 4 quotes. Can we stretch that out to like 15 minutes? I'll do my best. I'm going to sneak this over here because that'll help a little bit. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So our topic this month is you reap what you sow. And I got in a little bit of a problem with this because basically I talked about that last month. So I kind of thought, well, where do I want to go with this? And I thought, well, I just got to talk about my year. I have had, Angie, I'm sorry, but the entire year has been a spiritual orgasm. I said that too many times a few years ago in February, and I haven't heard the end of it since. But think of that concept of that rush of energy, that feeling of connection, the whole body, mind, spirit going, yes! That's what I've had this whole year. You know, and our spiritual lives are no different than our physical lives and our lives in the world. There's times that are up and there's times that are down, and we got to let go of the judgment of whether we're doing it right. But I can tell you that in the last year, I have just been on this incredible explosion of ideas. It started last November. I've talked about this blessing practice. I ended up writing a blog about it. It exploded in me in one night, this concept of blessing everything and everyone in my life. And it's become this constant spiritual practice through my year. And then Maggie ran off to India and comes back and starts talking about Diksha, which is a blessing. And at the same time, in the back of my mind for the last 8 years, I've had this gnawing little voice of a dear friend of mine who right before I left the desert and moved here, I did some little hands-on healing work with her, and she's a healer. And she said her shoulder was kind of bothering her, and she was standing there talking to us, and I just walked over and I just put my hands on her, and I don't really do Reiki, I don't really do any form of specific. It's kind of a combination of everything I've learned, and the rest I just intuit. And I put my hands on her shoulder, and she snapped her head around. And I went, oh God, what did I do? She said, come back to my office when I was done. And I said, oh, you know, it's like being called to the principal's office, or the teacher tells you you have to sit down and listen. And I went, oh, what did I do? I just, you know. And she says, I'm sitting you down to tell you something that somebody told me years ago. For God's sake, do something with your hands. Okay. And when I first got here, we were still doing Reiki, and I did Reiki. In fact, I scared the heck out of Dave when I did Reiki on him because my hands are so hot. Yeah. And I just kind of let it go. And then Diksha came up. And here I'm in this explosion of blessing, and it's a hands-on practice. And I went, wow. Maggie, I want to learn this. So we did a class in the springtime. And that's opened and exploded even more things for me. And I've traveled this current of magnificence all year long. And I got to tell you, my life is so amazingly good right now. And it's no different than it was 13 months ago when you look at, you know, where I live, what I do for a living, you know, my relationship. Everything is the same, but it's not. And it's not because I'm not the same. Okay, yeah, you know, you live with somebody, you have little issues sometimes. You know, you don't communicate the same way. And
I remember that day.
remember, yeah. Yesterday? But they're shorter. And they're smaller. And they don't happen as much. It's easier. it's smoother. I don't know, it's just really good. People were asking me this week, how are things going? And I'm in the swarm of the busyness and the frantic stuff going on in our business that I always am. But it's okay. I'm not feeling the frantic. I'm just okay.
It doesn't help.
It doesn't help? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't help to be frantic.
Oh, it doesn't help to be frantic. That makes more sense.
I tried that at first.
I thought he wanted me to be frantic and do more. I don't know.
Didn't work.
So I had to look at what is the big difference. And I've added some things. I've changed some stuff in my life over the last year. I've added some spiritual practices. And I'm going to tell you that it does not mean that I'm going to do these same spiritual practices for the rest of my life. We can't. We can't sit still. If we're not growing and expanding, we are shrinking. There is no other way to say it. It's going to change. What worked for you 10 years ago isn't going to work for you today. You're not the same person. But this stuff is working right now. Woohoo! It's great. So how do we sow? We reap what we sow. Okay, so we reap is our experience. We sow is what we give out. So what are the ways? Well, let's go back. What are the ways that we reap?
Thoughts.
How do we reap? Thoughts?
Thought.
Thoughts. Is that it?
Feelings.
Feelings. She's got 2 out of the 9 I have written down.
Action.
What?
Life.
Life. That's not one I have written down. That's good. 10.
Action.
Actions.
Yeah.
Love.
Love.
Good health.
Good health.
Relationship.
Good health is a result. Good health is a result, not what we're reaping. It's what we're reaping, it's not what we're sowing. It is a result. Synchronicity. Synchronicity is a good word. I've been writing a lot. You guys, I'm going to have another blog coming out, but it's actually more like an ebook because it's going to be all done before it comes out. I've been writing so much, that's a page, is synchronicity. What I wrote is that, Ernest Holmes in the Science of Mind text in the first chapter, I think, or the second, he writes this little equation of belief plus, or thought plus, belief plus word equals action. Get it right. Belief plus word equals action. Meaning that at the core of our being, whatever we believe and whatever word we say, meaning spiritual mind treatment or prayer work or things like that, create the result. But I always thought it was so much deeper than that, and I added all these things to it. I had 7 for a while. But 9's a better number, so I came up with 2 more. This is what it takes to create your experience. It takes belief. It takes a purpose. What is your underlying purpose in what you're doing? Which leads to intention. Kind of the same thing, but a little different slant. Purpose is a greater thing. Intention is something a little more direct. Your thought, your attitude. Attitude. Your feeling, your word, your connection, and then your action.
What about perception? You think?
I think perception comes into intention and attitude.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of is perception. So it takes all these things. And I've told you before, if you don't get them all in alignment, that's where things fall apart. Because if you're saying one thing but feeling something else, if you're feeling fear, if you're down at the core of your being, you're in fear of something and you're saying, it's all okay, it's all okay, it's all okay. Does that really work? You might fool yourself for a little while and it might help eventually, but the magic doesn't happen. The miracles don't come until you really believe. Until you release that fear and you really believe that it's all okay. Does that make sense? Okay. So how do we get there? Well, again, we've had these tools in our toolbox. And it's interesting because this year we've gotten more tools. We've all been sharing more tools. We've had prayer. You know, we are the enlightened prayer people of the world. You know, we stand in truth. We don't beg. We don't fall into despair. We stand in truth. You know, we are the meditation people. We've talked about meditation. We got the meditation queen sitting right here that's been teaching meditation here for 25 years. It's about 25 years teaching meditation here. These tools are here. We added blessing this year. Blessing came into this. This concept of just sending love, be it through Diksha or just your own heartfelt love, just sending love to people. Oh, I've got one we haven't talked about in a while. I'm also a bit of a follower of Sufi traditions, kind of under the carpet that nobody really knows about, but I love Sufi stuff. And one of the major Sufi ways of paths, there's 4 major paths in Sufism, and one of them is service. Being of service. Giving of yourself. Offering what you can. Your time, your energy. Being of service. Then I added a whole bunch of stuff that's come up this year. Singing. I don't think I can sing. You know, God, I get up here and I sing even into a microphone. It's kind of scary. To you as well as me. I know. It's okay. I know. But I do it. I've been doing it. Singing. When I'm at home and I'm sitting behind the sewing machine these days, I have either my phone or my iPod or my iPad or something with music on, and the music has shifted, and it's turned into chanting in English and Sanskrit and Arabic and everything you can imagine. And I sit there and I sing. If I'm not singing out loud, I'm singing to myself as I sit and sew these bags for these drums all day long, hours at a time. I've surrounded myself with music that is taking me to a different place. Now, I will tell you, I still absolutely adore classic rock and roll. Do not get me wrong. But it creates a different feeling, doesn't it? I have infused my life with music that has shifted. You know, I might listen to Michael Beckwith's Transcendence, which is anything but calm and quiet. It's rap music, it's upbeat, but it's still that chanting message. Music has shifted this year. It's going to shift again. I don't know I don't know, but it will, because I'm going to continue to change. So singing, dancing. Oh, Maggie. The first night Maggie did an evening with Maggie, and we just about filled this place. And she had us all get up and dance and move to this beautiful song that was opening ourselves to spirit and loving the divine. My back stopped hurting. That movement with the intention. Again, it's this combination. I go dance and it doesn't do the same thing. I might walk away and my back and my hip hurt more. But with that intention, it changed. It was really cool. So dancing has to be a part of it. And it's that freedom of letting yourself go. Again, Sufis dance. It's a good thing.